This video is brought to you a day late, thanks to the power flickering while editing. So for the color combinations of this set, first I want to talk about green-white and green-black, which are heavily involved with Saprolings. Now if you go green-white with the Saproling plan, then you're going for token attacking, whereas green-black has a lot more of the value creatures using the Saprolings. So that's really the main difference between those two. The other combination that sticks out is blue-white flyers, very common in many sets, and I just want to point out that there are a lot of very aggro auras in white. Now what this whole setup reminds me of really is a core set, and basically that means that if you go to your pre-release, you can just play your best two colors, your best three colors. There's no color combinations that really go well together much more than others. So for example, in Ixalan, it was very much not that way. And for example, green-black really had no good identity towards it. Now, speaking of Saprolings, if you've got a good green base for a Saproling deck, then in black, you'd be looking for Thallid Soothsayer, Thallid Omnivore, Whisper Blood Liturgist, and Vicious Offering, which is a lot better when you can just throw away a 1/1. In white, you're looking for Call the Cavalry, Benelish Marshal, Charge, and Shalai Voice of Plenty. These will all help you with your token attacking plan, and hopefully this helps you choose between pairing with black or white if you're doing the Saproling deck. Possibly, you could do all three colors. Next up for Saprolings, I want to talk about Jousting Lance and Forebearer's Blade. Now what you can do with these is attach them to one Saproling at a time, get in attacks, and you're getting in a lot of value per card that you play with the Saprolings. Forebearer's Blade is amazing, you'll pretty much play it in any deck, forget about the Saproling thing. Jousting Lance is a lot better when you've got a lot of tokens to attach it to. Now, the next card that I want to talk about isn't even in any of these colors, but is great with Saprolings, and that is Umezawa Tetsuko. Now, when you read this, I'm sure you immediately see, oh, all my Saprolings become unblockable, and this is just an uncommon, so it's not unusual that you'd have that in your Saproling deck. Now, Umezawa Tetsuko is very interesting because there's certain lines of play that you should keep an eye on. So something that you might think when you're attacking with this is, oh, it's unblockable. And I think that's really natural. But what you should realize is that pump spells actually become kill spells on Umezawa Tetsuko. So if you attack and then your opponent casts a pump spell on your creature, then that creature is no longer unblockable. So you can use pump spells to kill this uncommon, which is amazing with Saprolings. In addition, the card Merfolk Trickster removes that ability, which is even more of a blowout because everything that you own will suddenly become blockable, so you can attack, they play Merfolk Trickster, and all of a sudden, all of your Saprolings get blocked and killed. That can be a serious blowout, and also if you're the defending player, you should keep an eye out for your ability to do these things. Also, if you're the one playing Merfolk Trickster in your deck, be aware that this removes all the other keywords too, so for example, Flying, Trample, or Death Touch. Next up, let's talk about the tribes of the set, especially coming off of Ixalan. If you're a new player, I'm sure you put a lot of importance on tribes. However, let's talk about knights. So, there are a lot of knights in this set, but they are just individually good creatures. Only a single mythic in the entire set actually mentions knights to give them a special ability. The next two tribes in the set are goblins and wizards. Now these two actually do have cards which reference that creature type pretty often. However, compared to Ixalan, for example, there are many less of these creature types than in that set. And not only that, but I find their abilities to be generally unimpressive. So when you're playing a sealed deck where you're not drafting to, pick a lot of wizards or pick a lot of goblins, you just get as many as you get, your chances of having a good self-referencing goblin or wizard deck are extremely low. So I would not try to just play goblins or wizards. If you see one of those cards that has that type, just see if you would play that card on its own for the most part. Next up, let's talk about going 3 to 5 colors. Now, this is something that people do so that they can play every super powerful card in their deck. Of course, the downside is that you might not be able to play them because you can't find the correct colors. Now, green is the most well-equipped to do this, as it is in many sets. The 3 green cards that are important for this are Adventurous Impulse, Grow from the Ashes, and Llanowar Envoy. Now, Adventurous Impulse I like a lot because it allows you for just 1 mana to search deeper in your deck to find any land that you might need, and if you already have the correct lands, then it allows you to find those bombs that you're splashing for faster. Grow from the Ashes is nice because it can actually fix multiple colors at once when you're paying 5 for it, which is pretty darn awesome. Llanowar Envoy looks like an unexciting card, but it is a 3/2 for 3, so you're already getting a fair creature out of the deal, and it just allows you to splash basically for free. Next up, we've got Skittering Surveyor, Navigator's Compass, and Gilded Lotus. Now, Skittering Surveyor reminds me a lot of Pilgrim's Eye, and you can play this in your green deck as well to go search out lands, but it is a very reasonable card. Navigator's Compass is really sketchy, and I basically only would consider playing this if I was playing the full 5 colors. If you must be a madman, then you can play it. Gilded Lotus is one that cubers will know is an amazing card for splashing colors, whereas it's pretty underappreciated by newer players. So if you want to play, 3 colors or more, or if you just want to play big things, Gilded Lotus is very powerful. Next, let's look at some card combos that I've spotted. The first one is Tragic Poet with Sagas. Now, each color has 3 sagas, one at uncommon, rare, and mythic. So it wouldn't be crazy for you to have 5 or more sagas in your deck. If that is you, then Tragic Poet goes up a lot in my estimation. Now, Tragic Poet, you should also know the trick that you can block with it and then sack it and take no damage from the thing that you blocked. Next up is Cold Water Snapper and Arcane Flight. Now, this is a really goofy combo. You basically get a 5/6 flying hexproof creature, and both of these are blue and common, so you don't need to do 2 colors, and it's not going to be that unusual for you to have maybe 2 of each in your deck. Now, if you're playing this combo, I would really take a close look at green, because green is going to have those other big creatures that you could jump up with Arcane Flight. If you've spotted any cool 2-card combos, please write them down in the comments section for other people to read. Next, let's go over sideboard cards. First, we've got Invoke the Divine and Broken Bond. This doesn't require a lot of discussion. These are good against artifacts and enchantments. Keep your eyes out if your opponent has a lot of them. Next up, we've got Academy Journey Mage and Blink of an Eye. Now, Blink of an Eye I like even as a non-sideboard card, but if your opponent has a lot of auras, like all those great white auras in the set, these are a way to detach them from those creatures. Next up, we've got Fungal Infection and Radiating Lightning. Now, Radiating Lightning is great, of course, against Saproling decks, whereas Fungal Infection, a lot of people would think, oh, this is good against X1s. But actually, because this is an instant, you can actually use it to kill anything that's an X2 as well, because what you do is you cast it, and then you block their attacking creature. So you cast it, it becomes an X1, only 1 toughness, then you block, and then it dies. Next up, we've got Arbor Armament and Pierce the Skies. Of course, both of these are good against flyers. Just be aware that for Arbor Armament, you are going to want some of those bigger creatures to make sure that you can catch anything in the sky of significant size. Pierce the Skies kills pretty much anything. Next up, I want to talk about Fungal Plots. Now, Fungal Plots is pretty decent in Saprolings, although exiling cards from your graveyard is more difficult when those creature cards in your graveyard don't exist due to you making fungus tokens instead of playing actual creatures. The way that this card can become a good sideboard card is if your opponent is playing, for example, heavy black, has just a ton of removal spells, then Fungal Plots is your way of grinding against a grindy deck. So what are the strategies that you are excited to do in Dominaria? Are there any that I haven't listed? List them down below so that people can read your genius ideas. If you enjoyed the video today, hit that like button, and subscribe to catch a Dominaria box opening and a pretty exciting Dominaria Brawl format deck that I'm going to be releasing here soon. As always, I'll see you next video.